Beep, beep. What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World, and today we're going to discuss why your music sounds boring, or why my music sounds boring, if you want to put it that way. Now, over the past few months, I've been trying to find ways to suck less, and other than, fighting the urgency and those deep desires, a way to stop sucking at music production is to create contrast between different sections of your music. Now, I read this from a blog post on songwriting, like lyrics and whatnot, like, oops, I did it again, I OTT'd you. Again, this was more for lyrics, but when I started putting it down to the musical composition side of stuff, it kind of made a lot of sense. And today we're going to talk about ways that you can create contrast in your music, in different sections of your song, so that your track doesn't sound boring to a listener. Okay, with that being said, guys, if you want to support the channel, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com where you can find a lot of my sound design work. I released the Deceiver Volume 3. Now, you don't need that pack, honestly, to make Tech House, but there's some damn good sounds in there. 180 serum Tech House presets. You don't need them, but they sound great, in my opinion. Other than that, let's get straight into it, guys. So, let's talk a little bit about creating contrast between different sections, okay? Now, here I have a song that I created because, one, I go hiking a lot, and when I'm walking and it looks like a damn forest, sounds the same all the way through, I get bored, so I like to whistle until I get to a nice view. So I decided to make this song, and I'll play a little bit of it, and then we'll get into it. Okay, so you get the idea of that. Now, the first thing I'm going to teach you guys to create contrast between different sections of your song is, one, every 4 bars, every 8 bars, every 16 bars, 32, 64, 69, something needs to happen, okay? And you can make this in different variations depending on the kind of music you're making. Now, for me, I like to mix and mash. I'm not a commitment type of dude. So, every 4 bars, sometimes something little will happen, and every 8 bars, something will come in or come out, and every 16 bars, something big happens for me, and every 32 bars, I'm either going into the break or into. Anyway, so for instance, here we're gonna have the drop of the song, which is very simple. Here's the 8 bar mark. So 4 bars, nothing happened. Four bars. Okay. So again, little things need to happen for me. Every 8 bars, you want something to happen. And the test you can do is you can hear the 8 bars here, and then hear the previous 8 bars. Obviously, you don't want them to sound the same, so you create a little bit of contrast between those parts. Now, like I said, for me, every 16 bars, something major needs to happen in terms. We don't need to do anything crazy. In big room, that's usually going to be like second part of the drop. More drums come in, some hoovers, and etc. For me, I decided to bring in an ARP, and I finally play out the whole vocal with the beat. Here's 8 bars. Okay, so obviously there drums come in after every 8 bars, etc. So you get the idea. 32 bars come, and this is where we get to the second part, the second technique. Another way to create contrast between different sections of your song is tone. Okay, tone and rhythm. Okay, so tone just means you can filter some of the sounds, make it feel a little darker, put more reverb emphasis on the break, so you can go on the master and add some reverb if you wanted to. That's a well-defined technique. I know some people are like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck are you doing, Sam?
But it works to an extent,
so you can use that to create again contrast between the drop and the break. You want to portray different feelings in the breakdown. So for me, I decided to switch the chord progression to a real piano instead of using that Rhodes old school sound that the 40-year-olds love. I bring in an art that you don't hear anywhere else in the song other than the transitions, and I also changed the way the guitarist plays. So essentially, I gave the guitarist a Xanax to chill the fuck out, and in essence, it's gonna sound like this. Also, there's like walking steps.
symbolize
me hiking.
So to create contrast
there, again, the melody is the same, but it's just being played with a different tone and different rhythm. The tone change on the chords. Vocal gets put away, but it comes back filtered. And then finally we kind of build it up to... So now we're taking the listener back to a familiar place, which they heard before, but there's a huge change as you can hear. There's the drums are built up now. The vocal has a faster vibe to it, so it feels like the track's increasing in energy. And there's this like weird sound in the background that it's just doing there, and there's a piss sample from Cymatics. I swear to God. Someone took a piss and someone put a bunch of reverb on it. But again, that helps enough to create contrast. So when the listener hears that part, now they're like, "Ooh, yeah, boy, let's go," to it. Now, finally, we take it to this section. Okay, so we take it back to the whistle. Now the whistle, you know, I could have had it over here, but again, this is just a songwriting. I could have, you know, again, had it there. Songwriting choice. The reason I save it for that is because this is my last chorus of the song, and I want this to really make the listener go like, "Oh, shit. Oh, daddy." So, you know, I want them to really get goosebumps and whatnot. If they really like the song, they will. And if they really like this whistle from the introduction, then they've been waiting for it to come on. Obviously, they're like, "Man, what the fuck happened to that whistle? It's so catchy." So personally, me, I decided to leave it longer. Again, I could have brought it in the break. I could have done a lot. But again, I just like to create a little bit of change, contrast. But again, that's my technique. You can do it various different ways. But again, to create contrast, you can have something happen every 4, 8, 16, 32 bars. And the way you do this is with tone. You introduce new sounds. You change the sounds the way they sound. Rhythm, as well as, again, what was the last one? Tone, rhythm, and melody changes. Yeah, there we go. Now, there's another way to create contrast as well, which is not heavily used, but I'm sure you guys can pull it off, and that is by changing your chord progressions. Now, the last way to add contrast that I'll talk about, guys, involves your chord progression. Now, on the break, obviously, the chord progression, you can have it be slow and emotional, but on the drop, you can switch the rhythm up, or vice versa. You can do that on the drop and the break more faster, whatever suits your boat. So, for instance, now, if we play the drop, it's going to sound like this. The chord progression is the same, just a little bit of a spice. Okay, so pretty simple there. And of course, on the second part of the drop, just add a little extra there. So just differentiate it from the first part. That's the biggest thing that we want to do. Now, the last thing I did want to talk about was changing the chord progression. And this is something that I've been wanting to do in a song. So I worked on this one for 2 days, and I decided, you know what, that break, I'm gonna switch the chord progression. So if there's something that repeats constantly in the song, obviously the ARP and the vocal, you can change the vibe on it completely by just switching the chord progression up. Now, if you want to do it in a way where it doesn't sound too obnoxious, then you do it on a break, on a big switch. So for instance here, I do it like this. And then back to the original one. Now, since I'm the type of guy that's a one-trick pony, so when I figure out how to do something, I'm all like, I'm gonna keep doing it and doing it. I also do it here just to change, again, the vibe, to make it feel like the track's reaching that climax. And all I do is, I believe I go from an A minor to a D minor change. And here it comes. So that note is questionable. But you get the idea. I still have to work on that. But you get, you know, for me, that's just the biggest thing because, again, we've been hearing that loop. In the first part of the chorus, it's going to sound like this. In fact, we'll copy and paste this over here. But then again, second time around, it needs to sound different. There needs to be contrast between those two sections. So we come in with this harmonic element to the vocal. So that change there again is just to create more contrast. I don't know if I'm gonna leave it, but I did like the way it sounded. I did it by accident. It just sounded really good. Since I was messing with the bass progression and I just did that, I was like, whoa, that sounds pretty good. But again, the idea there is that if I hear this part, it shouldn't sound similar to. It shouldn't sound similar to this. So that's the idea, creating that contrast between different sections of your song so that they never sound the same. And you just feel like the track is evolving and always going higher and higher. Now, of course, there's different variations. You can have both choruses sound just as epic and whatnot. But for me, in my style of music, what I'm making, I find that, you know, since the music is supposed to tell a journey of hiking through the forest, there's always an outcome. So when you hike a mountain, you always reach the top and you get this amazing view and then you head back down. So that's the idea with the music, is that I always want that last chorus, that last climax to feel like you've accomplished something. So again, that's just my idea and my concept. So you can do whatever you want. But again, I hope this video is useful for you guys. Hopefully now you understand how to create contrast with detail, and you know, do your own way, unique way of doing it. You can mess with different things, different tones. You can do it in any genre, like I said, pop, deep house, progressive house, trance. You know, it all follows that formula. But again, that is the number one reason I found my music sounding boring, and hopefully if that is your case, now you kind of know how to fix it, and hopefully the suggestions I gave are cool. You can always go on Google and find other ways that people like to do this. Just Google how to create contrast in your music. And if you have any ways, make sure to leave them down in the comments. With that being said, I'll catch you guys next time for another video. You guys take care, and you guys have a good night.